I served in Iraq from April 2003 to March 2004, and I applied for conscientious objector status when I returned to the United States, and I received an honorable discharge in February of 2005. Since that time, I've been active with Iraq Veterans Against the War and many soldiers who have been resisting this illegal occupation who are stationed up at Fort Drum, New York. And we've come down to Ithaca many times to interact with the local people down here, to work with the peace groups, and to try to get some kind of awareness about the plight that this nation's soldiers and veterans are facing right now. Someone earlier used the word offended, that this resolution is offensive to military families and soldiers, and I think that's absolutely not true, because I'm a soldier, Nate's a soldier, and there's many others who believe that this occupation is illegal, that veterans are not receiving the proper care that they need for things like post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, that are not being supported when they come home. They are not being supported, and we are trying to spread awareness because of that. And I think it would be an excellent, admirable thing if Ithaca was able to join the ranks of these progressive, compassionate West Coast cities that are accepting this resolution and understanding that it takes grassroots activism to get to the root of a problem and to actually make things change.
The Common Council passed the sanctuary resolution that respects the constitutional rights of soldiers, veterans, and organizers and civilians who are organizing against the illegal wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. They passed it unanimously, and it was just a wonderful process to see them go through the thinking process of why a resolution like this is important, and how important it is for Ithaca to do this, where we can then be a role model for other communities to talk about the need for community support for those soldiers who are coming back and, after seeing the illegalities over in Iraq, saying that the war is wrong, and wanting to speak out to other soldiers and to the community about that.
There's an old saying, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. That's why we need a community, a sanctuary for veterans, military personnel, and civilians to speak out against the war.
All the members of Iraq Veterans Against the War and the growing numbers of active duty soldiers, we're beginning to see that the war is legal, and it's an illegal war, and we feel we have a right to refuse it.
The soldiers who are coming back to speak, their voices are being suppressed, and so you know, their opinion isn't being heard, and that's why this resolution is so important. If people's voices were all equally being heard, we wouldn't have a need for this proposal. So when Eric brought up the friendly amendment, you know, the thought, you know, of us within the group who created the sanctuary resolution felt that that was actually diluting the message.
I think in the context of the city of Ithaca, we are the Common Council of the city of Ithaca. What I think about is how would the people who don't necessarily agree with what we support majority-wise feel about this resolution? Who is, you know, one of the veterans mentioned that they've come to Ithaca and met with people here and worked here. That to me says there's a certain degree of support here, and it's a part of Ithaca, and I'm proud of that. But I feel compelled to think about a bigger picture, even if I'm unpopular because of it or ridiculed as superficial or whatever it might be. I still feel compelled to say that I would feel more comfortable with this resolution if it was stated, if we had additional language that reaffirmed this as a commitment to the First Amendment, reaffirmed this, that this was a reaffirmation of our commitment to the First Amendment, and that we were cognizant of protecting the right for those rights for the minority opinion, which may or may not be in agreement with the sentiments expressed in this resolution.
Well, when I came into this, I had already been to the committee meeting, which all the council members sat on just a few weeks ago. So I generally knew where most of the council members stood. I wasn't surprised at the amendment that Eric Rosario brought in, because he mentioned a very similar thing just a few weeks ago at the other meeting. That's the reason that basically the 3 minutes that I had to speak in the beginning, I basically spoke about what Eric was bringing up. And just basically my point on the whole thing. I'd like to address the argument that the sanctuary resolution should include a statement upholding First Amendment rights of those supporting the wars and occupations in Iraq and Afghanistan. While this argument may seem even-handed on a superficial level, it does not take into account the broader social and political reality. It is clear that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution already offers protection on paper to all of the citizens of the United States. The point of this resolution is to take note of whose rights are actually being protected in practice and whose are being suppressed. Military personnel and veterans who are supporting the war are not being arrested or having their voices suppressed. On the contrary, they are backed and supported by the federal government and the U.S. military with its billions of dollars in tax money. There is no reason to propose a resolution offering sanctuary or protection for those whose rights are already protected both on paper and in practice. It's about more than just First Amendment rights, and it's about the fact, and really the fact is that we all fall under these First Amendment rights. To pass a resolution saying that Ithaca upholds the First Amendment is kind of redundant. We uphold the whole Constitution. There's no point in saying that. But the point of our resolution is to take note of whose rights are being suppressed, even though they do have those rights in paper on the First Amendment. So to say that we're going to uphold their rights and then we're also going to uphold these other people's rights, it just waters down the spirit of the resolution, because the spirit of it is to actually give an extra boost and extra protection to people whose rights are being suppressed in practice. And the main point that Eric then brought up was that really that within Ithaca, the majority might be against the war or might agree with this resolution, and therefore the minority voice in Ithaca might be suppressed. And my response to that is that it really isn't about minority or majority. It's about the actual legal ramifications that veterans and military personnel face when they speak out. It's not about, I feel uncomfortable because I'm in the minority in Ithaca. It's about, am I actually going to have my voice suppressed? Not that somebody's going to walk down the street and mock me. People can mock anyone for any views. It's about the fact that veterans who speak out against the war are sometimes having their benefits taken away. And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to say everyone should feel comfortable speaking. That's a given. And, you know, everyone is entitled to their opinion. And so people can go out on the street and say what they think. And if they're in the minority, they might be mocked. But it's not, you know, in the purview of the city council to be concerned about who's being mocked or isn't being mocked. It's really about looking out for whose actual rights are being suppressed. So, leave it at that.
Ithaca is known as a tolerant place where you can be a human being and expect compassion from many people, from many different walks of life, from all around town. I think this is a time for us to show our compassion